Now it's time for RTB 101, where we discuss practical questions to equip you to share your faith more effectively. And here to help me talk about a very timely question is Dr. Hugh Ross. Welcome back, Hugh.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Now, Hugh, you had a recent blog post making the claim that viruses are actually good. Now, I have to say, after a few months in quarantine because of a virus, I have all kinds of questions. So maybe let's just start with the basics. What is a virus exactly? Is it a living thing? Is it like a cell? What is it?
Well, it's not a cell, and there's debate about whether it's alive or not. It's hard to tell. You're basically looking at a kind of a DNA protein combination that has the capacity to invade cells and reproduce itself.
Now, I know a lot of viruses can cause disease and destruction. So I think I've made a very long time assumption that viruses are the result of the fall. They're the result of and somehow connected to or initiated by Adam's sin. So maybe you can help me think about that issue.
Let me first put in a biblical context. The Bible says in many places that the laws of physics do not change. And so there's a constancy about nature. That's actually what allows us to be able to reliably do science and explore what God has to reveal in nature. But I think the thing a lot of people overlook is just the vital role that viruses play in making advanced life possible here on Earth. For example, viruses actually can float up in the atmosphere. They're really tiny, and they can form the seeds for the formation of raindrops and snow. And also they attack viruses, and when they attack bacteria, and when they attack bacteria, they break it up into little tiny bits and pieces. Those tiny bits and pieces also float up in the atmosphere. And so we critically depend upon viruses to get all the precipitation we need to be able to grow the food we need for our large population. They keep bacteria under control. They even play a role in climate stability, because viruses and attacking bacteria cause a rain of carbonaceous material to fall upon the oceans. They begin to sink into the oceans. This provides a food supply for deep ocean life and an additional food supply when those bacterial and viral particles land on the ocean floor. Then plate tectonics subducts that into the mantle of the Earth, and this is a powerful and essential means to pull greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. So as our sun gets brighter and brighter, the greenhouse gases become less and less effective and trapping solar heat. That's one reason why our planet has been able to sustain life in a great abundance for such a long period of time.
Those are really helpful, specific examples, Hugh. It almost makes it sound like viruses are fairly abundant on our planet. So that's helpful. So then when we think about viruses that are damaging, help me think about how we arrived at that. Because if there's so many good viruses, and maybe they're not automatically the result of the fall, how do I think about situations like we've been living in with COVID?
Well, I can put it in the context that, herbivores, in order to maintain their population and their health, need carnivores. And God has designed the carnivores in such a way that they maximize the population and the health of the herbivores they feed on. Well, parasites also play a critical role in making sure we got the maximum abundance and diversity of life on planet Earth. 100 years ago, North America was plagued by the gypsy moth and was bringing in their natural pathogen, namely a virus, that finally brought them under control and restored the ecosystem of the eastern forest. Now, because of human abuse, we wind up taking benign viruses and making them deadly. I wrote a blog making the point that when you look at every major viral pandemic that's happened over the past 2,000 years, we can attribute it to human mismanagement or human abuse. Just like we took mosquitoes that only occupied 10% of the planet, and now they occupy 99% of the planet. God never intended that. Likewise, we've taken relatively benign viruses and made them far more deadly than God ever intended.
So maybe in that sense, we could say God created viruses for good, but that
Yes.
humanity and our sinfulness has done things to alter the viruses that have resulted in a lot of the destruction and disease that we see.
Yes. That's something that scientists agree upon on this current pandemic. It was human mismanagement that actually led to it becoming a pandemic.
So, how could we maybe turn the tables on this a little bit of how could viruses maybe actually be used to advance our faith, to advance the cause of the gospel?
Well, I think pointing out the benefits of viruses, how they've been optimally designed by our creator, and moreover, just the future potential. I mean, we now have biochemists that are actually taking the viruses that exist on Earth and engineering them in such a way as to be therapeutic. So, for example, we may wind up coming up with a cure for cancer, at least many cancers, by actually being able to use viruses to bring in anti-cancer, therapy into the body. And so we got a future to look forward to. If we properly manage these viruses, it can lead to significant health benefits for humans and the animals that we depend upon. But again, just go back to the rainfall and the snowfall. That wouldn't be here without viruses. Long before we came here, the viral load on planet Earth was optimized for the benefit of all life.
Well, thanks, Hugh. That's a really fascinating discussion. Thanks for helping us think that through a little bit more carefully in a nuanced way. And I want to encourage all of you, if you haven't yet done so, go check out Hugh's blog. It's called Today's New Reason to Believe, and it's at reasons.org.